Rain pounded the cracked asphalt outside. Mercy Funeral Home. Neon lights flickered over puddles reflecting a broken gravestone. Sarah Whitman pressed trembling lips against the cold glass door. Her breath fogged the glass as she clutched a single white rose. Thunder rumbled low, an omen she felt deep in her bones. Inside, casket drapes billowed in a draft she couldn't trace. She loved him fiercely. He was gone. Her chest tightened with every beat of distant church bells. A choir's hymn echoed hollow through stained glass windows. Candles flickered. Shadows danced across polished wood panels. She stepped forward, knees weak, rose petals scattering beneath her. The minister's voice droned words she'd memorized in sleep. "Today, we honor David Whitman." Sarah's throat burned. She gripped the rose's stem until it cut her palm. Outside, lightning split the sky, illuminating her tear-streaked face. She whispered to empty air, "I miss you more than life." Footsteps halted behind her. She froze. A hush fell on the chapel. Sarah turned, every nerve alight. Standing there was a man in a dark suit. His eyes held hers alive, impossibly alive. "Sarah," his voice cracked like a distant memory. Her world shattered all over again. Sarah Whitman lived for routine. Morning light filtered through linen curtains in her Salt Lake City row house. She brewed strong coffee in a chipped mug. His favorite David's portrait hung above the kitchen sink. He smiled at her every dawn. Sarah taught 3rd grade at Emerson Elementary. Her students called her Miss Witt. Laughter trailed her down the hallway each morning. She graded papers at lunchtime under a maple tree. She carried his old leather briefcase on her commute. Every drive home, she eyed the horizon for his pickup truck. He managed security for a biotech firm downtown. Weekends were spent hiking the Wasatch Range together. She'd learned to rappel climb the sheer faces he loved. They dreamed of a cottage by the lake. A black Labrador named Scout waited at home for their return. Sarah's parents lived 2 blocks down Elm Street. They doted on their only daughter and cheerful son. Her phone buzzed constantly with condolences and parade photos. Cards covered her refrigerator messages. She reread each night. She kissed each one before bedtime. Dreams turned to nightmares. David calling her name from dark waters. Her nights were restless. In daylight, she smiled for everyone else. She spoke softly of his courage in uniform. 6 years in Iraq. She told students he died saving colleagues in a lab fire. Each word felt like a lie on her tongue. At home, she replayed final voicemail. His voice sprang to life from a tin speaker. "I love you, Sar. Be brave for me." She wept into her pillow. "How do I be brave when he's gone?" She taped his dog tags above her desk. At their anniversary, she wore his ring on a chain. Neighbor offered casseroles, sympathy plants. She thanked them with hugs that shook her shoulders. Inside, her heart hollowed. Scout whimpered at her side, begging comfort. She stroked his fur, imagining David's rugged hands. Memory flickered of his warm laugh at sunset. A letter arrived in plain white envelope last Tuesday. No return address. She shoved it into her purse, unread. Something doesn't fit. That night, a storm howled across the valley. The wind whispered in urgent tones. Sarah sat by the window, rose in hand. Scout's nails clicked on hardwood. Her mind raced. What if the letter is from him? She dared not dream it aloud. Still, doubt crept under her skin. As dawn broke, she rose and crossed Elm Street. Her parents' porch light was already on. They smiled with somber eyes. She hugged them tight. Her mother's perfume smelled of lavender and tears. This life without him feels wrong. She swallowed hard. A rumble of thunder reminded her of last night's vision. Something is coming. Her phone chimed in. Unknown number. Her heart seized. Should I answer? She paused, thumb over the green icon. Then a silence deeper than death. Asterisk. Sarah sat at her kitchen table before dawn. The envelope lay open beside her coffee. Inside was a single photograph. David's broad grin shone in bright sunlight. He stood in front of their home alive. Her fingers trembled as she traced his face below. Scrawled in neat script. Look deeper. Her pulse thundered. She rifled through the rest of the pages. There was a short note typed on thin paper. I never left. Find me. No signature. No hint of sender. Scout whined at her feet. She dropped the photo. It fluttered to the floor. Her mind raced. Was this a cruel hoax? She dialed her sister Amy. No answer. She tried her mother. Straight to voicemail. Silence pressed in. Her breath hitched. She recalled the lab fire report, the coroner's signature. She stood abruptly, chair scraping wood. She grabbed her keys. She would visit the fire chief. Maybe records held errors. Outside, dawn mist curled around parked cars. She slid into her Honda. Scout scrambled into the back seat. She drove in near silence. Her thoughts whispered dark possibilities. What if someone staged his death? She reached Station 12 on Brighton Avenue. The brick facade gleamed in early light. She pushed through heavy glass doors. Officer Ramirez looked up from paperwork. "Mrs. Whitman, you here early?" She offered a tight nod. "I found something." He led her to a records room. Filing cabinets towered overhead. He pulled out a folder. "Here's the incident report." She scanned names. David Whitman confirmed deceased. But then she saw an amendment. A clerk's note. Identification unverified. Her heart lurched. She reread the line. Identification unverified. Why was this never mentioned? She whispered. Ramirez swallowed. "We were told it was confirmed by lab tech." He tapped a form, signed Dr. Kramer. Sarah's blood ran cold. Dr. Kramer worked at BioVantage Labs, David's employer. She needed answers there. She thanked Ramirez and left. Back in her car, fog of doubt thickened. She fingered the photograph again. "Find me." She drove downtown. City traffic hummed alive. Skyscrapers glinted in rising sun. BioVantage's lobby gleamed with polished marble. She showed her ID to security. They buzzed her through. She climbed to the 6th floor. The hallway smelled of disinfectant. She cleared her throat at Kramer's office door. No answer. She knocked again. Footsteps approached. The door swung open. Dr. Amanda Kramer stared in shock, her white coat crisp and spotless. "Sarah Whitman." Sarah stepped inside. "I need the truth about David." Kramer's eyes flicked to the photo in Sarah's hand. She closed the door softly. "Please, sit." Sarah obeyed, pulse pounding. Kramer composed herself. His death was ruled accidental, but identification was unverified. Sarah held up the form. Kramer exhaled. There was an error in the lab samples. Sarah's voice shook. "Error? You told me you'd confirmed him. I was misled by data." Kramer tapped her fingers on the desk. "I didn't know until today." Sarah leaned forward. "What mistake?" Kramer hesitated. "Your husband's remains were commingled." Sarah's stomach dropped. "Commingled?" "Yes, with another patient." Sarah's vision blurred. "So, I buried the wrong man." Kramer nodded, eyes brimming. Sarah staggered to her feet. She clutched her throat. "This can't be real." "It's the truth," Kramer whispered. A sudden knock pounded at the door. Kramer froze. The knob rattled. Kramer's voice dropped. "Stay there." Footsteps approached outside. Sarah's heart hammered. Through the crack, she saw a dark-suited figure. A card slipped under the door. Attorney Dalton. The name meant nothing, yet dread seeped into her bones. Kramer's hand trembled on the desk phone. Sarah backed against the wall. Rain began to patter against the window pane. Outside, thunder grumbled. Sarah realized the depth of the puzzle. Her husband's death, a lie. Her grief, manipulated. Her world, unraveling. "Someone wants me to dig deeper." She swallowed hard. The knock came again, sharper this time. Kramer raised the receiver. Sarah braced herself. What waits beyond that door? **** Fog clung to the city streets as Sarah drove home. Her mind replayed Kramer's confession. She pulled into the driveway of her Elm Street home. Scout barked anxiously at the front door. She paused, keys trembling in her hand. Inside, the living room was dark. A single envelope rested on the coffee table. No handwriting, no stamp. She tore it open. Inside, a grainy surveillance photo of her last night at BioVantage. Her face, lit by corridor lights, and beneath, "You're close. Stop now." Her pulse spiked. She scanned windows for movement. Nothing but shadows. She shoved the note into her pocket. Her phone vibrated. Unknown caller. She declined. Rain tapped insistently on the roof. She never slept again that night. At dawn, she packed a small bag. She needed help she couldn't find alone. Her sister Amy lived in San Diego. She called her, finally answered. "Sarah, are you okay?" Sarah swallowed. "There's something wrong here. I need you." Amy promised a flight next morning. Sarah hung up and exhaled. She searched online for a private investigator. Most had flashy websites and stock photos. One stood out. Owen Mitchell Investigations. He was ex-LAPD, now a PI in Salt Lake City. His bio mentioned wrongful death cases. Perfect, she called him. Mitchell's voice was calm, measured. He asked precise questions. She shared minimal details. He agreed to meet at Tall Pine Cafe. That afternoon, she found him at a corner table. He wore a leather jacket and watch. His eyes studied her quietly. "Tell me everything," he said. She laid out the envelope, the report, and the photo. He leaned in. She thought her husband died until he walked into their wake. Owen tapped his pen. "I'll take your case." She exhaled in relief. He warned her, "Someone is framing this death." Her stomach knotted. "Can we trust anyone?" she whispered. He patted the table. "I'll protect your identity." He handed her a burner phone. "Use this." Outside, black SUVs idled. Sarah froze. She looked over her shoulder. Two men in suits watched from across the street. Their heads turned in unison. Her heart slammed. Mitchell glanced back. "They're here." He slid a folder across the table. Evidence so far. Photos of surveillance footage, security logs. But one page stood out. A lab keycard record showing David entering the lab the night he died. At midnight, she remembered no call. Why was he there? She muttered. Mitchell's jaw tightened. "There's more." He opened a laptop. Emails from David's address sent after his death. Cryptic code names. Her breath caught. He was alive, working covertly. Suddenly, the cafe's door burst open. The two suited men strode in. Their gazes locked on Mitchell and Sarah. Mitchell rose, chair scraping floor. He shielded Sarah as the men advanced. "Mr. Mitchell," one said coldly, "end this inquiry." Sarah's chest tightened. Fear and determination mingled. She squeezed the burner phone. "This is bigger than I ever imagined." Outside, thunder rolled. "And someone wants her silenced." Asterisk, asterisk. Sarah met Owen at a secluded garage gym. Dusklight filtered through dusty windows. He wore gloves and a faded baseball cap. Scout lounged quietly in the corner. "Today we start," Owen said softly. He handed her thin workout gloves. Her fingers shook as she slipped them on. He led her to a worn punching bag. "Focus on balance," he instructed. Sarah raised her fists, body tense. Owen demonstrated a jab and pivot. His moves were fluid and precise. She struck the bag weakly at first. It swung back, rattling overhead pipes. She adjusted her stance and tried again. Solid footwork, Owen praised. Her confidence flickered to life next. They moved to self-defense drills. He showed wrist-release techniques from grabs. His hands moved on hers like a dance. She practiced until her muscles burned. Owen nodded, wiping sweat from his brow. They took a break by a folded mat. He poured water into 2 paper cups. Sarah sipped slowly, catching her breath. She studied his calm expression. "Why help me?" she asked quietly. He exhaled, gaze dropping. "My partner's death was ignored," he said. "People deserve truth." Sarah's chest warmed with gratitude. She handed back the cup. He led her to the shooting range next. "It's an abandoned warehouse off 6th Street. Rusty steel doors creaked open. They stepped inside. Scents of oil and metal. Targets lined one wall under dim lamps. Owen showed her a small handgun. He emphasized safety and respect. Her hands trembled around the grip. He guided her fingers on the trigger. First shot rang loud against concrete. She flinched, heart pounding. In her ears he coached her stance and breath. Each shot grew steadier, more precise. She felt power in every pulled trigger. Her doubts melted under his steady gaze. Next, they ran obstacle drills outside. Tires, ropes, and low walls challenged her. She tackled each with growing resolve. Her muscles screamed, but she persisted. At sunset, they sat on the pavement. Sarah traced the bruises blooming on her arms. "I feel stronger," she admitted. Owen offered a small, approving smile. "Strength isn't just physical," he said. "It's knowing you can face fear." She wrapped her arms around her knees. Her mind replayed Kramer's confession. David's death, the photo, the threats. She tightened her jaw. "I will find the truth," she vowed. Owen nodded, eyes steady. "You're ready for more." He handed her a file. "Blueprints of secondary lab. Inside this," he said, "lies your next step." Sarah opened the folder with resolve. She tucked it into her jacket. Night air chilled her skin on exit. Scout greeted her with a wagging tail. She knelt, hugging him tight. Her heart thrummed with purpose. She would train, she would fight. She would uncover every secret, because love demands nothing less. Sarah slipped into the secondary lab at midnight. Her flashlight beam cut through dust motes, blueprints crinkled in her hand. She ducked under yellow caution tape. Heart thundering, she reached a sealed door. Card reader blinked red. She swiped David's old key. Green light glowed. The door hissed open. Inside, shelves held vials and files. She found a locked drawer. Owen's lockpick worked quickly. Drawer slid out with a creak. Sarah gasped at the contents. Files labeled Project Echo. Photos of David meeting unknown men. Transcripts of calls to a hidden number. He'd led a covert task force here. The files implied corporate sabotage. Suddenly, footsteps pounded outside. Sarah ducked behind a rack. 2 men in lab coats entered. They spoke in hushed tones. "Did you plant the evidence?" one asked. "Yes," the other replied. "They'll never suspect us now." Sarah's blood ran cold. These were David's colleagues. They'd faked his death. Her mind reeled. Why? She pressed closer, invisible in darkness. They lifted a vial marked Neurosync. "1 dose buries him for good," the first said. Sarah's grip tightened. Owen's face flickered in her memory. He hadn't warned her of corporate complicity. Was he involved? Her phone buzzed silently in her pocket. She silenced it, heart pounding. The men left with sealed boxes. Sarah exhaled, legs trembling. She snapped photos of files. Then she heard a soft click. The lab door swung shut. Owen stepped in. He looked shocked. "Sarah," he whispered. Her voice trembled. "Why didn't you tell me?" He swallowed, hard. "There's more to this." He pointed to a hidden corner. A second set of fingerprints on the drawer lock. They weren't his. Sarah's eyes widened. Someone framed Owen. He froze. "I was set up," he said. She searched his face. Doubt and fear warred in her chest. He reached for her hand. "Trust me," he pleaded. Sirens wailed in the distance. The men in suits returned faster than before. Owen caught her eye. Time to run. They dashed for the door. A gunshot cracked. Glass shattered overhead. They ducked under empty tables. Owen pulled her into a narrow corridor. He whispered fiercely, "I never left you." Her breath stuttered. They rounded a corner. A figure blocked their path. It was Amy. Sarah froze in disbelief. Tears filled Amy's eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Sarah stared, heart shattering. "My sister betrayed me." Amy held up a photo. Sarah hugging David at home. "And me," Amy said. Sarah's world tilted. Amy stepped back, weapon drawn. "Stay here," she ordered. Owen lunged forward. "Why, Amy?" he demanded. Amy's face hardened. "You have no idea what he did to us." Sarah's chest tightened. "Us," she repeated. Amy's voice cracked. "He destroyed our family." Owen grabbed Amy's arm. Amy yanked free. She vanished into shadows. Sarah sank to her knees. Her hands shook. Owen knelt beside her. His eyes were fierce. "You're not alone," he vowed. Sarah looked up. Her tears met resolve. She rose slowly. Betrayed by blood, framed by friends, hunted by enemies. But she still had a choice. She squared her shoulders. "Let's finish this." They raced up the fire escape on Mulberry Street. Moonlight glinted off rusted metal stairs. Sarah's heart pounded in her ears. Owen followed, hand on her shoulder. Behind them, Amy's footsteps rang urgent. They reached the rooftop. At midnight, New York's skyline stretched around them. Skyscrapers pierced the starless sky. Wind whipped their hair and coats. Amy burst through the skylight hatch. Her face was pale under harsh floodlights. "You can't stop this," she warned. Sarah squared her stance on the ledge. "Why destroy us?" she demanded. Amy's lips trembled. "He stole our inheritance." Owen stepped forward. He only sought truth. He argued. Amy lifted a pistol. Sarah's breath caught. "Don't!" Owen shouted. Amy's finger hovered over the trigger. Sarah raised her hands slowly. "Please," she pleaded. Behind them, the city hummed unaware. Amy shook her head, tears falling. "I lost everything because of him." Sarah's chest ached with empathy. She edged closer to Amy. Owen circled behind, eyes fixed. A chopper's rotor wash thundered overhead. Police searchlights swept the rooftop. Amy spun toward the hatch. She aimed at the open door. Owen dove, knocking her off balance. The gun flew into Sarah's hands. Amy stumbled backward, teetering on the edge. Sarah dropped the weapon instantly. She grabbed Amy's hand. Time slowed heartbeats. echoing. Sarah's eyes locked on Amy's. Ours is forgiveness, she whispered. Amy's grip loosened in shock. Owen lunged, catching Amy around the waist. Together they pulled her to safety. Police sirens wailed below. Floodlights blinded them all. An NYPD unit arrived on the roof ladder. Officers cuffed Amy gently. Sarah wrapped her arms around Owen. She exhaled, relief washing over her. The city, lights twinkled like distant stars. Her chest tightened with victory and sorrow. She watched as Amy was led away. Moonlight softened the skyline. Sarah held Owen close. Their breaths mingled in cold air. They stood amid debris and truth. They survived the darkest hour. Asterisk, asterisk. Dawn broke over the Hudson River. Sarah and Owen sat on a rooftop ledge. Soft pink light warmed their faces. Amy's betrayal weighed on Sarah's heart, yet remorse had brightened. Amy's arrest. Sarah received word of a legal settlement. Biotech admitted fault in David's case. They offered her a peaceful closure. Sarah visited David's true resting place. She laid fresh roses on the granite marker. Scout padded. Beside her quiet steps, she whispered into morning air, "I forgive you." Her grief felt honored at last. Back home, her parents greeted her with tears. They embraced under the Elm Street oak. Amy remained in protective custody. Sarah vowed to visit, offering hope. In her sunlit kitchen, she placed David's rose. She filled 2 mugs of coffee. Owen appeared with gentle knock. He entered, carrying Scout's leash. They sipped coffee in comfortable silence. He slipped a small ring onto her finger, a promise forged in truth's fire. Sarah smiled through tears of joy. She took Owen's hand. Outside, children laughed on the sidewalk. Neighbors waved as Sarah passed by. Life's rhythm returned steady and bright. She taught her class with renewed warmth. Her students asked about her smile. She simply said, "Hope lives here." At sunset, she stood by her window. The sky blazed deep orange and violet. She whispered to the wind, "Thank you." Her world, once shadowed, now glowed. She thought of David and felt him near. She closed her eyes, heart full of promise. Tomorrow holds new light. Asterisk, asterisk.